Whoa! Dudes, dudettes, and most historical babes. Well, I'm Ted Theodore Logan, and you're totally listening to the Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure Tribute on episode 69, dudes! I mean, episode 274 of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast! Hey, Bill, what's a podcast?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I am Darren, and of course, with me I have Lee.
Hello, everyone.
And Tracy.
Hello.
All right, and we are here today, of course, to pay homage to the Halloween Horror Nights show, Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure, that is sadly entered and finished and completed, I should say, its final year here.
Mm-hmm. And we'll have a friend of the show and former actor on Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure, Mr. Kevin Vincent.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
So yes, as we said, we are talking about Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure, and it made its debut at Universal Studios Florida in 1992 as an overlay of the Wild Wild West stunt show.
Or even the Wild 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 West.
The Wild 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 West, yeah. I forgot to get that extra wild
You
in.
did not make it wild enough.
No.
No. I've just noticed a trick was missed.
What?
The wild should have been spelt with a Y.
It should have been, you're right.
Yeah. See? Yeah. The show was the brainchild of Halloween Horror Nights co-creator Julie Zimmerman and has been written by many different people. And this is over the course of its 26-year run, but it's always been a staple of Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando.
Yes, the mazes and scare zones may change every year, but Bill and Ted have always been there to entertain the guests. Many characters have been portrayed by well-known Universal Orlando actors such as Kevin, Joey Wolf, James Keaton, and returning to play Ted this year, Jason Ryan Perry. That made a big hit, having him come back.
Oh, it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows you how big the fan base is, that goes around, and you hear about that, and the Universal actors are that well known and loved that people just go insane when that happens. So, but yeah, let's pay tribute to this most excellent show by delving into it with Kevin here.
Kevin, so obviously we know you were Ted and you were the Crow as well. So obviously, yes, you're an actor in the show. This is obvious, yes. But can you tell our listeners what other characters you've played and which years you performed?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I saw the first year. I'll just tell you a quick Bill and Ted synopsis of my experience with Bill and Ted, even as a guest. I saw Bill and Ted in 92. I had been to Fright Nights the very first night.
Wow.
And it's funny, just to touch on this really quickly, too. And I think in Fright Nights, in the first year, or the second year, actually, the first year was Halloween Horror Nights. I remember I have a picture of myself with the Penguin from Batman Returns.
Wow.
Was a walk-around character. And I remember they had an Edward Scissorhands walk-around character.
Wow.
And, those weren't... Edward is what Universal isn't, or no, I forget now. No, it's Fox. Excuse me, it's Fox. But they had characters that weren't their properties, just walking around. And but in '92, I saw the first Bill and Ted show, and I see Doc Brown come out of the DeLorean, and this guy's nailing it, and he's just, I'm like, this guy's great, and I'm like, who is this guy? And I met him after the show, and it was James Keaton, and not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before last, James was the best man at my wedding, and we,
so awesome.
Yeah, and that's how we met. And the next year in '93, a friend of mine that I did Ninja Turtles with was one of the Bills, and James was a Ted that year, and we used to double cast the show. So the show would have pretty much two full casts, like a cast A and cast B, and all the roles would be cast. So on any given year, there'd be two Bills and two Teds, up until Michael's first year, where I think they smartly decided to just do one cast instead of having so many people trained in all these roles.
Yeah.
In '93, I was talking to James Keaton after the show, and he goes like, you should do Ted. You look more like Keanu than I do. And that was like my first inspiration. I was like, oh, maybe I should do Ted, And then '94, I think they usually cast internally. So most of the roles were team members that were entertainment team members, people that already work there. And then they might have some, other incidental roles that they could fill. And I think it was Julie Zimmerman, but I could be mistaken. But Jason Sorrell in '94, I think he was writing, and Paul Verhoeven was directing. And Jason knew I wanted to be part of the show, and he's like, "Oh, you should talk to Julie Zimmerman." And again, that's the name that's coming up. I could be absolutely wrong. So I go in, and all I wanted to do, honestly, I was like, "Hey, you're gonna have Edward Scissorhands as a walk-around character again? Because I would love to do that. I don't care. Pay me to be Edward. That's cool." And I go in, they're like, "Oh yeah, we do need to fill a role." And it's Elton John, and it was like, "Bwam, bwam." It's like, no, I couldn't fill that role. I was like, oh, darn. So the next year, Paul Vroom was directing, Jason was writing, and Jason had set up a meeting for me with Paul Vroom, because what happened was, in 95, it was my 10-year high school reunion, because I'm 1,000 years old, and it was my 10-year high school reunion, and I couldn't make the auditions, but I could switch my trip and come back, make it for callbacks if I needed to come back. So Jason set up a meeting with Paul Vroom and I explained, and Paul Vroom, for anybody that knows him, he has a very, very down to business, let's get to it kind of attitude. And I explained, he's like, yep, fine, yep, go. And it was for the John Travolta character from Pulp Fiction. And what they wanted, and the way it was written, was they wanted like a stereotypical 1970s version of John Travolta, kind of like Barbarino, Welcome Back, Kotter. And so I go in, I just do my thing, and Paul's like, great, see ya, callbacks. And it was like lickety split. It was like that quick. And I go to callbacks. We're at the stage, and we're all sitting there, and we're like, okay, this looks pretty good. We're looking around because you start assessing, who's there for the role that you want and who you're going to go up against. And everyone's like, yeah, it should be really good. And I go, you guys, look behind me. And there was a guy, no joke, sitting on the benches in the Bill and Ted stage, the Wild Wild West stage. And this guy looked just like John Travolta from Grease. I mean, his hair, his body, everything. He had a black T-shirt on. And everybody I was with was like, oh, that sucks. Because I look nothing like Travolta, but I could do a good Travolta impersonation. And we're like, oh, that stinks. So that guy goes and he auditions, and we're waiting. And they call me, and they're like, do your John Travolta voice. And, I'm like, oh, my God, this time travel is so weird. I thought I was going to die. Whatever. And they're like, oh, great. So I talked to Dan Mitchell, Dan was a friend of mine from Ninja Turtles. We did Ninja Turtles together at Disney. Dan was at the audition with Paul, and he just said, yeah, he goes, that one guy looked just like Travolta. Paul asked him to do Travolta's voice, and he goes, oh, I don't know what you mean. And he's like, do stereotypical voice. He goes, I have no idea what that is. I don't have any idea what that is. So then here I come, looking nothing like Travolta, and I could do the voice, and then all you have to do is slap a wig on me, and the audience was watching. They're like, oh, yeah, cool, John Travolta. So that was the first year I did Bill and Ted in 95.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then 96, just quickly, 96, I went into audition, and again, James Keaton brought this up to me recently, is that we were talking like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we were back-to-back Teds, if he was Ted in one cast and I was Ted in the other cast? But you never knew if any of the other guys, like I think David Sadler was doing it for a while too, you never knew if he was going to audition for Ted, and I didn't want to audition for a role and then they just give it to the guys who did it last year. So I was like, I'll audition as the Crow. So I went in, and we're all black, and I go in, and Jason Sorrell was the writer and director that year, but he had Michael Roddy was up there and a few other people. And so I did my little monologue from the Crow, and I'd spoken to Jason about, possibly playing Ted, but you never, at least for me, I never take anything for granted whatsoever. And so I didn't have anything prepared for Ted, but Michael said to me, he goes, can you give us a little bit of Ted Theodore Logan? And so I'm thinking, and I don't want to say like excellent or something screamingly obvious. And I'm thinking, and like nothing was coming to me. And I just said, oh, dude, I totally can't think of anything. And the table's like, oh, that's great. And Jason Sorrell was like, no, that's how he talks. That's the way he normally talks, And they're like, that's great. And then I got a call later that day, and they're like, yeah, can you be Ted in the show? And I was like, yeah, sure, of course. So I was really excited that James and I were back-to-back Teds, that we both got to be Ted that year. And it was probably about a few days after that, they're like, would you like to be the Crow in the other cast? And I was like, yes, I would like to be the Crow in the other cast. So there'd be nights where I would do like the first 3 shows as Ted and the last 4 as the Crow, or however many shows there were, Cool. So that was a fun year. That was 96.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jason, it was like in January of 95, I think he came in. I think he was writing for Universal, but he was still working at Disney. And he came in, we were doing Ninja Turtles at Disney. And he came in, and he's like, oh, I just came up with the idea for the finale of Bill and Ted this year. And this was January. And he was so excited to tell me that it was Jules and Vincent from Pulp Fiction. And I was like, oh, my God. And And then Jason wrote something on social media the other day about pretty much the same story. He goes, in 96, he goes, I was so excited because I was going to make Catwoman and Boba Fett the villains. He goes, so I called Kevin Vincent, and all he said was dude, and that's all I needed to hear to know. I didn't even remember that. And Sorrell told the story. He's like, all I said was dude. And he was like, that's all I needed to hear to know that I was going in the right direction. So like, I would hear Jason Sorrell say that a lot. There is that selfish part where you're not doing something that only, Jason Sorrell and his group of friends would get, or no, you're doing something that everyone's going to appreciate, but you're like, well, hell yeah, I'm gonna put Boba Fett in there, or I'm gonna put Dr. Evil in there. This is really cool. I get to put these characters out there. So it was a really fun, special time.
Cool.
Doesn't listening to the crew at UUOP every week make you wish that you were actually at Universal Orlando Resort? Well, stop wishing and start doing. Mouse and Muggle Travel Company is the perfect place to begin. Their team of concierge-level travel planners will help you every step of the way. And for you Muggles who also love the mouse, their team of experts specialize in Disney destinations too. And the best part of all, their services are free to you. So, if you're ready to plan your next Disney or Universal vacation, let Mouse and Muggle Travel Company do all the work for you. Just go to mouseandmuggle.com and fill out a no-obligation quote request. Or send an email to info@mouseandmuggle.com. And remember, whether you're a mouse or a muggle, Mouse and Muggle Travel Company can help make your next vacation simply magical.
So, Kevin, from an actor's point of view, did you have any input into the show itself as far as script reads?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's like what we talked about earlier, with whether it be with Paul Vroom in 95, Jason Sorrell was writing, and Paul Vroom was my first Bill and Ted director. And Paul and I are friends now. He lives out in California. He's just a great guy, but it was my first year Bill and Ted, and he intimidated me so much just because if you don't know him, it was just like no nonsense. I remember Michael, do you remember we didn't have like a hair and makeup. We had like these two older gentlemen in a Winnebago and hair and makeup. They would be like, oh, you're playing this character? Okay, well, here, go ahead and try this wig on. And it'd be like, I'd put it on like, this looks nothing. This looks like a Wolfman wig, And I put the wig on I was supposed to wear for the John Travolta Pulp Fiction character. And I put it on, and it looked like a Wolfman wig. And I remember Paul Vroom walks by, and he has a cigarette, and he was like, well, that sucks. And, thank God, I'd been doing like Aladdin and Prince Eric over at Disney, and thank God I knew how to deal with wigs. So I was like greasing this thing down and just, making sure it looked okay. And then the next year I was the Crow, and they're like, okay, you're going to be the Crow. Here's your Crow wig. And I put it on, and it looked like Paul Stanley from Kiss. And it was just like this huge, it was like a Cher wig or something, And I go, what? And I remember James Keaton being like, ha, ha, ha. He was like, that looks horrible. And I'm like, I know. And I'm like, once again, I'm trying to straighten the curls out, and I'm trying to make it all flat. And I think it's like a much different situation over there now. But at the time, it was kind of almost like hey, we've got this barn, let's put on a show. we've got these older gentlemen that randomly show up with wigs and their Winnebago, and so it was. But as far as input goes, yeah, I mean, like my first year with Paul Vroom, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to piss him off. I just really wanted him to go like, okay, great, because again, working at Bill and Ted at that time, there were a lot of stunts in the show. So you work with stunt guys, and I wasn't a stunt guy, like I was an actor over at Disney, and so there was kind of this really kind of tough guys camaraderie, and then James Keaton and I in the corner talking about like, how much do you love Batman? And we're like, yeah, me too. I love Keanu Reeves too, and they're over there talking about doing high falls, and we're all like, yeah, no, let's go watch cartoons or something, So there was this kind of guys camaraderie. And then in 96, it was always open. Like that was the first year in 96, Jason was directing, and he'd always take, like, if you suggested something, he would always take it into consideration, much like Michael. And, and you could have input. It's just, whether it's this show or any show, you just always want to know when, as an actor, when to speak up and when just to be quiet. Because with Bill and Ted, we'd have these rehearsals scheduled, and sometimes like early on the rehearsal schedule, they'd be like, we're going to let you guys go tonight at 10 o'clock or 10:30. And I remember James Keaton and I looking at each other, we're like, oh, you know what that means? That means in 2 or 3 weeks when we're closer to opening, we're going to stay even later because they're letting us go early right now. And every year it was pretty much like that, where we'd have to stay later. But in those later rehearsals, as we're getting closer and closer to show, I remember one performer in 96, we're all really tired. We're supposed to open the show like 3 days from now or whatever. And it's late. We're way extended. And he's like, it would be a really good idea, maybe. And it's this actor who's talking. And all of us look at each other. We're like, oh, no, be quiet. And I don't remember this correctly. But Adrian Lepeltier was there helping direct. And he said something along the lines, he's like, darling, he goes, if you want to direct, go out on Kirkman and direct traffic.
That sounds like Adrian.
I can imagine him. Yeah.
I love Adrian Lepeltier.
Yeah.
It's late at night, and this one actor, God bless him, but he's always like, I got a better idea. And it was like, dude, be quiet, please be quiet.
Kevin, knowing Adrian, I'm sure he didn't say it as politely as that.
Yeah.
Oh, there might have been a darling or two thrown in there, you want to direct that. Go out and direct effing traffic on Kirkman. I'm paraphrasing. James can probably tell the story 10 times better than I can, because this is one of the things I wanted to make note of. I think one of Jason Sorrell's strengths were definitely casting, because what you want to do is you want to cast people that won't just go, say the line, look like the thing, whatever. Mm-hmm. You want to cast people that do have ideas in those early stages that you maybe as a writer, as a director, you wouldn't think of, and you're like, oh, that actually does work, So it's like that kind of collaborative thing, because I think in 99, I think Michael gave James Keaton and I like an early version of the script, and I think we took it to like the Ale House, and we just went through and we just were like, oh, what'd be funny here? Or, what'd be funny here or whatever. And we talked to Michael about it. He's like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. So, and again, that doesn't mean that we wrote it. No, not at all. We were just making suggestions oh, you know what might work? Instead of putting this here, what if we put this here? Like simple things, like just kind of turning things around. And it was like, but to me, that's a testament. Like I said, Jason Sorrell did this. Michael Roddy did this. It's a testament of a good director, because you just go, you want to have a team thing. It's not a dictatorship. You want to have people feel comfortable. And then also, when you're casting, it helps if you do cast people that have ideas or can, roll with the punches and kind of create stuff too. So it was just, again, it was a really fun time.
When that little bit becomes, you own part of it in a way, in a sense. Yeah. And I think that connects you to the work that you're doing a lot more. So
you feel like, we're all on the same team here. We're all looking to put out the best show possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to wear, so James had this Ted wig that he wore like in 93, 94, 95. And then in 96, he had the same Ted wig that he kind of just worked. And it was supposed to be like Ted's hair in Excellent Adventure. Now, here's the thing. For anyone listening that aren't big fans of Bill and Ted, there's a difference between Bill and Ted in Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted in Bogus Journey. Like their hair, just the way they look. And that's what we're talking about. But James had this wig that just kind of fit his face and kind of worked for him. And I put this wig on. It's a different one. This kind of making him look like a buffoon. I put this wig on that was supposed to be like Ted's wig in the first movie, Excellent Adventure, and I put it on, and I looked like I don't know, like what's the painting, Little Boy Blue or something? Or, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like it looked like this little kind of like Joey Lawrence, like when he was 8 years old, bowl cut thing, and I was like, what?
Wow,
what is this? And I remember after one of the shows, we were like video, because I used to bring my video camera and my camera with me all the time. And the Winnebago guys were like, we need your wig back. And so I was like, oh, sorry. So I took my wig off. My own hair was out. And we filmed something in front of the stage after the guests were gone. And everybody was like, dude, why don't you wear your own hair? And they were like, well, we like it better. We think it looks more funny, more cartoony. And I totally got that. That was fine. That was 96. And I was like, oh, I want to wear my own hair. So 97, 98, I was in Japan. And then when I came back for 99, I was like, okay, my hair was long. And I was like, well, I got to get it cut. We have dress rehearsals next week. So I got to cut shorter. And I came into dress rehearsal and I go, where's my wig? And they go, oh, you're using your own hair. And I go, what? And I'm like a perfectionist. So I'm like, no, why? My hair was so long last week. So I'm sitting there, every night using spray, trying to pull down the bangs to make them longer and longer. And, and it worked. But again, just for me, just being a weirdo perfectionist and stuff, I'm like, oh, my hair would have been more like Keanu's and Bogus Journey if it had been longer or whatever. But it's like the wig sometimes is like, you're making them into almost cartoon characters a little bit.
So finally, and I can't believe we're saying finally already.
I know, it's flown by.
It has. Kevin, what are your overall memories and thoughts of the show?
And how gutted are you that it's not there anymore?
Yes, that's true.
I saw the show once at the beginning of the season, and then Angela and I, after we got married, right before we went on this little mini honeymoon we just went on, we saw the show one more time, and she looked over at me, and I was just like, man, this is starting to get to me right now, because it was just the way it went out, the way they sent Bill and Ted out, and it was just, you start thinking like, you just take it for granted, like, oh yeah, Bill and Ted show, yeah, cool. But then it's the fact that it went away, the fact that Jason Horn, every time I see him, he's, Jason Horn and I, we used to work together at Disney, and he's always like, well, you're part of this, man. You're part of it. And I feel so happy to be a small part of this, and having that opportunity. I mean, I just told this story on social media the other day that really quickly in 2010, I hadn't seen the show. I hadn't been to Halloween Horror Nights in a while, and I hadn't seen the show. And I had just started dating my wife, and about a month earlier, and she said, you want to go to Horror Nights? I go, yeah, cool. And then Mike Aiello got us VIP for Bill and Ted. And we're sitting there at the end of the show, right before Bill and Ted exit, the kid playing Ted comes over, and he looks at me, and he comes right in front of me, and he points at me, and he goes, Ted! And I just was like, what? And I had a big smile on my face, and I look at Angela, and she goes, you know who that is? I go, I have no idea who it is. And it was Jason Ryan Perry. And we became friends after that. And he's like, yeah, I've seen pictures of you. You played Ted, and I saw videos of you. And it just meant so much to me. And for the last 7 years, that kid has been, I'm calling him kid, he's been so respectful to me. And that kind of goes back that it was just this family group. Like, look, this is a kid that I'd never even worked with, and now I'm really good friends with. But just the respect that everybody had for each other. And, you ask what memories I have. That's an awesome memory. And I wasn't even doing the show. Or like the last few years, Jason Horn and his crew putting together a little reel of Bill and Ted shows that plays before the show every year. Oh, look, there's me, oh, there's me. And I'm like, to be included in that, because there's so many other excellent Teds and there's so many great Bills, and, to see that I was included in that, like, that's pretty rad. I mean, that's just so much respect out to Jason Horn, to Mike Aiello, to PJ and Jason. And the way they ended the show was amazing. I mean, again, you could have another hour podcast where I told a million stories. I'll tell you this. One of the best directions I ever got at Bill and Ted wasn't even from a director. It was 95. I was doing Vincent Vega, and at the end he comes out and he's from Pulp Fiction. It's John Travolta from Pulp Fiction, but he kind of gets killed, so he comes back as John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever. So I've got the iconic white suit on, and I ride the little hay. There used to be this little hay thing you could ride down, and I rode down, and I was supposed to do a little disco dance right there. And so I'm doing it right by the barn. No one said anything else to me. And then one night, James is playing Ted. This is rehearsal, and he goes, hey, man. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, walk to the front of the stage. He goes, this is your moment. Walk to the front of the stage. Do your thing. And I go, you think so? He goes, yeah, do it. And this is the year of Paul Vroom. So, I'm a little intimidated because I didn't, at the time, I didn't want to be on Paul's bad side. So I walked to the front of the stage, and that's what I did every night. No one said a word to me about it. And if it wasn't for James, I never would have done that. The other thing I cannot let pass, 94. Jason Searle wrote the show, and he suggested that they put OJ in the show and the white Bronco. And there was a guy working at the Orlando Arena that looked just like O.J. Simpson. And so there was a moment in the show where it's towards the end where all of a sudden you hear sirens and a white Bronco comes driving up on stage, and O.J. is out there. He comes out, and I don't know why I'm laughing at this right now. You're going to take it either one way or the other. But he's got a gun to his head, and he's holding a football, and he escapes in the phone booth. And I just think about that now, like, There's no way Universal would let that be in the show right now. I don't think, or maybe they would. I don't know. I have to tell you. Then I have to finish up because this one seems to be a hit. Whenever I tell the story on social media lately, really quickly. So in '96, I was playing the Crow in one cast, and Alicia Scalo was playing. Alicia Dillon at the time. She was playing Catwoman. She's this amazing performer. She was April O'Neil to my Ninja Turtle when we did the Ninja Turtle show at Disney. She's an amazing performer, still in town, does great stunt work, and she was just starting off on doing stunts. And so we had this really cool fight scene between the Crow and Catwoman. And basically the Catwoman just completely beats the crap out of the Crow and throws him into the phone booth. And we are like right before dress rehearsals. We're at the Wild Wild West stunt stage, and there's dirt all on the floor. It's not all clean the way it is now at the Fear Factor stage. And there's dirt everywhere. And we're sweating. It's muggy outside. We're in rehearsals. And there's one part, Catwoman's supposed to give me this kick to the face, and I'm supposed to do a roll. And I look up, and I just see her I think she had Doc Martens on, and her foot just cracks me across the side of my face. Ow. And blood just starts coming out of my mouth. And we finish the show. Again, we're in rehearsals. We go backstage, and Alicia was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And again, this can happen. It happens all the time. Stuff like this happens, whatever. And I'm bleeding, and I'm like, "No, I'm okay. Don't worry about it. I'm okay." We finish the show. We go out and do a finale. As soon as we finish, the stunt guys jump the fence, and they're like, "She really kicked you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And my lip was split. Like it was the side of my mouth was split, and you could see where it was kind of hanging off. And Cheryl Bott was our stage manager, and they're like, he needs to go to the hospital. And I'm like, "No, dude, it's fine. It's fine." And I have a mouthful of blood. I'm like, I'm gushing blood. And I'm like, "No, I'm fine. I'm cool. Don't worry about it. I'm cool." And so they take me to the hospital. I'm wearing like a black T-shirt, black shorts. I'm covered in dirt. It's September. It's nowhere near Halloween. We get to the emergency room. They start an IV, and they realize I have to put stitches in my mouth and close it all up. So Cheryl is just outside the door, and this older nurse comes over, and she just goes, "Oh, honey, are you okay?" And I'm laying there, and they're giving me drugs. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine." And she's like, "What happened to you, honey?" And I go, and again, my mouth is all puffed up, and I go, "Oh, Catwoman kicked me in my mouth." And she goes, "I'm sorry, what did you say?" And I go, "Catwoman kicked me in my mouth." And she goes, "Excuse me a moment." And she goes outside she was like, "Is this guy on drugs? What's wrong with him? He just told me Catwoman kicked him in his mouth." And Cheryl Bott, our stage manager, is like, No, Catwoman did kick him in the mouth. We're doing a show at Universal. This performer dressed as Catwoman kicked him in my mouth. And so that was funny. So I had stitches all in my mouth, and it went over really well the next day at Disney when I had to be Aladdin. I had stitches in my mouth. Oh, that's off the magic carpet, But anyway, that's what. Just to go back to like some of your favorite stories about the show. Just that was definitely one of them.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for joining us to pay our respects to Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure.
Yeah, thanks,
we really
guys.
appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah, and it's been an honor to have you on. But before we wrap up, we have received some messages from some other people connected to Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. So we're going to go ahead and play those now.
Hi, Kevin and UUOP. It's Adrian Lepeltier, former Director of Show Development for Universal Orlando. I was fortunate enough to direct the first two Bill and Ted shows. And those ardent fans who look on Facebook will see that Jason Sorrell has given a very good, detailed account of how Bill and Ted actually came into being and how it blossomed and became what it was today. And like everybody else, I was hoping Bill and Ted would be indestructible, but not so in our world today. Everything has an end date, and poor Bill and Ted have received their end date. It was great fun because I remember, just like Jason did, at moments when the first show at the end, when we had come to the end in rehearsals, and we had a very brief rehearsal period, actually. In those days, money was crucial, and we never had a big budget. And not that Bill and Ted ever did have a big budget. But we did the show, and Skip Sherman came to me and said, "What if we added a musical finale?" So I said, "Yes, why not? Let's do that." So, of course, we had to just use what was current at the time. And the Blues Brothers, as we had a show with them, we could use them and bits and pieces. And I forget who the others were that we used, but we used about 3 or 4. And the actual reaction of the crowd to the musical ending was phenomenal. And that's how I think the music part stuck with Bill and Ted, and it developed through the years, developed more and more. But I am sad to see it go. Very sad.
I'm Kevin, and UUOP, I'm Joey, a former actor at Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure, the Bill to Kevin's Ted. What's up, dudes? Bill and Ted, man. Okay, so my first year working at Universal Studios, people kept going on about this Halloween Horror Nights, and being part of it was being so cool and whatnot. And they mentioned this show, this Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. But I was still new to even Orlando and the park. I was only started working there in June of that same year. But I was looking at the casting list and I thought, I could do pretty good, Keanu. Or so I thought. But I was procrastinating about auditioning because I was doing a show and I just didn't know if I had the time. But eventually people convinced me, it's like, yeah, you should go. So it was the very last day of auditions. I was literally the last auditioner. And I went in, I did my Keanu, and these guys, the other side of the table, Jason Sorrell and Michael Roddy, they looked at each other and then looked back at me, and I believe it was Jason, goes, "Can you try Bill?" Which I was a little confused with, and I was like, okay. And I did, and they cast me as Bill right then and there, before I even left the room. So I went in for Ted, but I got Bill, which I found out much later actually happened with Alex Winter. For the film, he thought he was going in for Ted, and he got Bill. So the connection to the character was right there from the start. Yeah, working on the show was absolutely phenomenal. The level of dedication and just commitment that everyone gave was like 300%. But I tell you, getting to live out some like great fantasy moments, like a lightsaber duel with Darth Vader, appearing like magic in that phone booth every night, every show, even sometimes when it didn't work and you had to walk around the side. It was still fun. It was still great. All the improv and getting to ride in some of the most iconic movie vehicles, like the DeLorean and the Shagmobile. I mean, come on. But also, getting to work with some of, if not the most hardworking and dedicated cast and crews I think I've ever had the pleasure of working with. Kevin, Vincent, and I would just so fully inhabit those characters. I mean, it was hard not to be them, even off stage. I mean, I could go on for hours, if I could, about how being in the show really helped and changed my life for the better. I mean, it really did. I will have to say that out of all the roles and characters I was blessed to perform at Universal Studios, being Bill S. Preston Esquire in the Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure was the highlight of all those years. So, absolutely thanks to Jason and Michael for seeing what I didn't see in myself and allowing me to share in such a most excellent legacy. So, in the words of Mr. Bill S. Preston Esquire, be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes. Catch you later, guys.
Hi, Kevin and UUOP. This is Julie Zimmerman, former manager of creative entertainment at Universal Studios Orlando. Reflections on Bill and Ted. I love those boys. I will always love those boys. I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world to bring a show like that to Halloween Horror Nights. For anyone can come through that phone booth. They can come and go. It can be good guys, bad guys, or as it evolved, it was more topical pop culture. The very first time we previewed it to the employees, they went wild. They came out of their seats, and I said to myself, oh, wow, I think we have an instant hit. It's evolved over the years to be a staple at Halloween Horror Nights, and I'm not part of the Universal tribe anymore. I think it's sad that Bill and Ted have to go because, there's never too much of a good thing. I will miss them. I adore the show. I think my favorite episode, I remember I'm old school, so my favorite episode still has to be the OJ one, because when we brought that Bronco in, I think the entire state of Florida screamed out loud. Anyway, thank you for making Bill and Ted a part of your life. I'm going to miss those boys. I truly will. I still think of them as my children somehow, because who knew that they would start out and end up being a staple for over 20 years. Anyway, Bill and Ted, I'm sorry to see you go. You will always remain in my heart. And all I can say right now is party on, dudes.
Hey, everybody. This is Paul Vroom, and I have been asked to share some thoughts on my experience as show director for Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure back in 1994 and 1995, back in the days of OJ and The Mask and Batman and Die Hard and the Brady Bunch. And what a great experience for me. The 94 Bill and Ted, as I remember it, was one of, if not my very first directing opportunity, which is insane that would be somebody's first outing in a cast of 30 or 40 with pyro and stunts and dance and music and, just insane. And more insane that management at the time took the risk on me that they did. But I'm grateful to them, so grateful, because they were just tremendous opportunities. They were so well received, and I got the chance to work with so many talented people and be a part of what is, a huge legacy. I just want to recognize the likes of Amy Henry and Julie Zimmerman and John Zimmerman and Cindy Thomas and Michael Roddy and Jason Sorrell and Michael Mormon and Adrian Lepeltier. My gosh, so many wonderful people that were just there and supported me and championed me. And it wasn't easy. There were people that did not, want this young, cocky actor, will want to be soon to be director doing this. And we all work together, and it's an ensemble. And again, I was just fortunate to have so many good people as part of the team. And I just remember it so fondly. Man, the first time, there's a couple songs that come to mind when I think back to then. Like there was this Nine Inch Nails song, and then of course We Will Rock You. And the first time when you hear the audience stomping their feet and clapping their hands, man, wow, what a wonderful experience and fulfilling. Yeah. So. There were key little moments, especially like when OJ came out and The Mask, and the audience went nuts for that sort of stuff. It was just a riot. And of course, how could my four key Bill and Teds at the time were just tremendous. And I'm so thankful to everybody who had patience with me and worked together to produce what were, at least I'd like to think, two of the best Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventures. So thank you to everybody. So proud to be a part of this legacy. And at the risk of being cliche, be excellent to each other. Okay.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I've got to admit, I got a big lump in my throat towards the end of Joy's.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just,
That's
great.
Hard following all that up again, but once again, thanks again to Kevin, and just want to end with I think one of my favorite lines from Bill and Ted, because of course, growing up in Illinois, I was a huge Abraham Lincoln fan. So I hope you all will help me at the end. 407 minutes ago, we, your forefathers, were brought forth upon a most excellent adventure conceived by our new friends, Bill and Ted. These two great gentlemen are dedicated to a proposition which was true in my time, just as it's true today. Be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes!
Well, that wraps up another unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Thanks for listening. Between shows, please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. It really helps. But if you're not an Apple user, you can find us on Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, or wherever great podcasts are found. Head over to our blog at uuopodcast.com for show notes, articles, and more. You can get in touch with us by emailing podcast@uuopodcast.com or leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/uuopodcast. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. Just search UUO Podcast. And if you're planning a trip to Universal Orlando or Walt Disney World, please check out our sponsors by going to mouseandmuggle.com to book your next trip. Well, that's a wrap. See you next week.